the dark side to leadership that people don't like to admit to is that very rarely are leaders well liked. Leaders are respected, leaders are trusted, but leaders are very rarely liked. They might be liked 100 years later like artists, but usually in the moment they are not well liked. And it's because they know how to exercise control. Nobody likes to be controlled. Nobody likes to feel like they are under control. Nobody likes to feel leveraged. Nobody likes to feel sold. Nobody likes to feel pressure. But when you have that pot of social capital, when you have the leverage, when you have the power, you have to exercise it to prosecute the vision that you're trying to build.
So if you're the type of leader that does all these other things, they're super considerate of other people, they're collaborative, they're consistent, but you never exercise control.
You're not a leader.
What are you?
You're an assertive follower. You're a reliable partner. You're a peer. You're a good friend.
Are you a coward?
No, I wouldn't say that you're a coward, because remember, cowardice is the opposite of courage. And courage is defined by showing courage or doing the thing that you're afraid of.
I mean, it takes a bit of courage to exercise control, though.
Absolutely. But not everybody wants control. There are lots of people out there who don't want to be a leader. If you are a leader, if you want to be a leader and don't exercise control over the leverage and the social capital that you've built, you are not a leader. You are an aspiring leader. You are a developing leader. You are a hopeful leader, but you are not a leader, because a leader has to be able to take action that inspires others to follow.
Even if they don't like you.
Even if they don't like you. Because here's the reality of it. A leader is not what you claim to be. A leader is what you demonstrate to be. Because a leader who leads an army of none is not a leader. And someone who is leading an army but doesn't call themselves a leader, still a leader.
What do you think are the sort of core components of a great leader? You go to a lot of companies, you speak to a lot of executive leaders. What are the ones that you respect the most, whether they're clients of yours or people you've seen within history?
There's an element of honesty that's critical to a leader. Like, you have to be honest and you have to be objective about what you see, what you feel, what you experience. Because true leadership means that you have to execute against a vision and you have to inspire people to follow you. If you're not honest about why you do what you do, if you're not objective about the current reality, then there's no way that you're going to be able to cast a vision that's realistic and ignite an audience of people to follow you towards that vision. So honesty is critical. Objectivity is critical. Leaders also have to have an incredible amount of courage, because they're always doing something that they're afraid of. They're always taking the next risk. They're always challenging the misbelief or the incorrect information. They're always upsetting their spouse. They're always missing out on time with their children. They're always stepping on the toes of half of their company. They're always upsetting somebody. You can't be a leader without having the courage to hurt 80% of the people that you talk to. Because if they're not completely in line with the vision that you're trying to lead towards, they need to be brought in line with the vision that you're leading. And that sometimes that means you're going to tell them bad news. Sometimes that means you're going to slap them over the back of the head. Sometimes that means you're going to cut them off and let them float. So you have to have courage, which specifically means doing the thing that you're afraid of to be a leader. Which is why to me, the most important component of being a leader is accepting that you will be lonely forever. That's the unfortunate fact of being a leader. It's lonely at the top. And every general has talked about it. Every president has felt it. There's a reason presidents go gray. Michelle Obama will look very good when she's gray. But you have to be willing to be lonely. If you're not willing to be lonely, then you're not courageous enough to be lonely. Then you're not fit to lead.
You walk through life like seeing people, be honest, as kind of puppets.
Not puppets, no. Not puppets. I do walk through life seeing people as worthy or unworthy investments.
Interesting.
Because especially like it's to kind of bring it full circle back to losing my grandmother. We only have a certain number of minutes, seconds, breaths. So I feel like I was blessed and privileged to get the skills to rapidly identify the people who are worth my breath, the people who I can invest in with my words and my thoughts and my actions and my time. And those people will create an ROI that doesn't pay me back, but pays back my children and my children's children, because the people who learn and who apply and who support the work that I'm doing are the people who will make the future, the world of tomorrow. And the world of tomorrow is not for me. The world of tomorrow is for my family. So I feel like, unfortunately, that is what a lot of my relationships boil down to. And the people that
Transactional.
But all relationships are transactional. We just don't like to admit it. For me, I feel like because I already know all relationships are transactional, I now cultivate the transactions that yield the most, rather than transactions that just happen, where so many people are trapped in relationships where they don't have any return on investment from that relationship. Or even worse, they keep investing in the relationship and it's a money pit and it just keeps taking and taking and it never gives back. And they don't know how to get out of that relationship, or they feel trapped, or they feel lost, or they feel abandoned. If I had to pick between being somebody who literally looks at everybody as a win or lose transaction, or being a person who's constantly investing in the wrong person, I'm very happy to be where I'm at on this fence.
Does that change your life in some respects? Because if I looked at what people will be thinking, they'll be thinking, oh God, Andrew, that's a sad life. That's a sad life, just to see everything as a transaction.
It's not a sad life. When seeing things as transactions is not the same thing as accepting that everything is a transaction. I don't see everything as a transaction. I don't see my children as some sort of return on investment. I don't see time with my wife as some sort of return on investment. I don't see it as a transaction, but I accept that what it is a transaction. They want love, they want attention, they want affection. In return for that love, time, attention, and affection, they will give love, time, attention, and affection, and we will build positive memories for the future. It's transactional. If I want my wife to be okay with me taking a 12-day work trip, I have to put a little bit of time and effort into the 12 days before the 12 days that I leave, because I have to build some goodwill. Like, we understand that this is how it works intrinsically. We just don't want to accept that what we're talking about is a transaction. Going to the bank and saying, I'm going to take a loan in a little while, so I need to fill out my paperwork and get pre-approval. Like, it's the same concept. It's the same process. It doesn't mean I see everything through a lens of cold, hard transactional relationships. I see a lot of life that way, but I don't see all of life that way. And the parts of life that I do see as transactional, I leverage that perspective so that I can maximize my investment in the relationships that I do not see as transactional.
It's so true. I think the big takeaway for me and all of that as well is just thinking about the relationships that are really doing nothing for you. I've got a couple of relationships like that really probably aren't doing anything for me.
And it sucks. Even at our level, it sucks because you still see yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Like,
why am I? Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't I know better by now? And inevitably, like, you come back. It's like getting drunk. I guess you don't know what it's like to do that. Most people know what it's like.
I used to get drunk.
You get drunk, you get sick from being drunk, and what's the next thing you tell yourself? I'm never getting drunk again. And then it happens again, and you feel like an idiot. It happens in business, it happens in life, it happens everywhere.
Some people do really waste their entire lives just like entertaining relationships that are doing zero for them. They like go for lunch and brunch and like the 2-hour phone call and the small talk on WhatsApp just for nothingness. They're pouring all of their life into these nothing relationships, these sewers, these leeches of relationships.
If they don't recognize that it's a transaction.
And they ask themselves continually, what is this doing for me?
Correct. And then you can't feel guilty asking yourself, what is this relationship doing for me? That is just you being objective. That is just you being focused on accountability and honesty like any good leader should be.
When's your book coming out? You've got a book, your new book that you told me last time was on the way, but the CIA weren't approving it.
Correct. They have still not approved it. we are actually expecting by end of month this month to get their formal approval. Once it happens, I will let you know for sure.
Okay.
Because trust me, my publisher is also very nervous about when CIA approves the book.
So the book is called Red Cell.
Red Cell.
Probably going to be released in summer 2025, but pre-orders will be available maybe by the time this episode comes out. If that's the case, we'll link it below.
Oh, that would be
Just
exciting.
the pre-orders.
Absolutely.
Very exciting. What is the book about?
The book is finally, my wife and I get to release the details of our operational history together, and that is what the Red Cell is about.
Oh, wow.
It's about what we did together in the field as a tandem clandestine couple, how we operated, how we worked together, how we managed our marriage and our operations, and the team that we built around us. It was all very unique at the time, and we're very proud of it, but it's sensitive, and CIA does not like telling sensitive stories.
For anybody else that wants to check out where you can support them in the meantime, Everyday Spy is the key place to go to the website, everydayspy.com.
Absolutely. Everydayspy.com. You can also find us on YouTube, on the Everyday Spy podcast. And of course, you can find us on social media everywhere at Everyday Spy.
Your channel. I really love it.
I appreciate it.
I really love all the work that you do. And I think it's so important because you're so honest. And there's very little bullshit with you. There's very little virtue signaling, which means that we can just be grown-ups and talk about the reality of things. We don't have to fluff around things. So it's really, really, really great to talk to you all the time. And I think that's also why you're so resonant, because people, they trust you. And it goes back to what we were saying.
Even if they don't like me.
Even if they don't like you, they trust you. I think people like you. People love you. People in our comment section. Obviously, you get the conspiracy theory lot. I think you're still like part of the CIA or whatever. But aside of that, people are so happy, and they do appreciate the work you're doing, because it does help people change their lives. Because as you said, so many people are trapped in that shed. And as you said, they know that there's something out there better, and they've tried a bunch of shit and they're still in the shed. And you give them a rubric, a framework to start to run tests in their life to see if there's a way out the shed. And it's not going to be simple, and it's not going to be easy, because if it was, it wouldn't be worth it. But there is a way, and that hope alone, I think, can really get people off the sofa and towards the life that they deserve. So thank you, Andrew. We have a closing tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the next. Question left for you is, presumably, you either do or don't lean toward believing in an afterlife or something after death. If your belief were proven definitely wrong, how would it change your behavior today? So which one do you believe, I guess?
I believe in an afterlife.
Interesting.
I believe in an afterlife. I don't think I can conceptualize what that would be, but I believe that there is something after we pass. And if that was proven definitively wrong, you know what's really fucked up is if that was proven definitively wrong, I would probably still challenge the proof. It would be hard to let that go. It would be hard to trust the proof. You know, I guess the answer then to the question is, how would my life change? I would spend a lot more time thinking and challenging the belief that I currently spend no time reflecting or thinking about. Does that make sense?
So yeah, you'd spend more time challenging the belief that there's an afterlife.
Yes, which is kind of crazy. I would spend more time and energy challenging the proof that proves my fundamental belief wrong. I would spend more time in that thought process than I spend in that thought process now.
Why? To try and change it.
I don't think I think it's because it would create such a sense of dissonance in my head, because I've believed it for so long, and now it's definitively proved wrong. It's not like you can just flip a coin and be like, oh, I was wrong.
But
moving on.
In this example, you would basically be there. You'd be proven.
I know.
So you'd be convinced. So you wouldn't actually be interrogating it, because that's what you would believe.
So I guess you're right. If the question is assuming that as soon as the proof comes out, I accept the proof and I accept the new reality.
Yeah.
I can, that's a fair question too. That's a fair interpretation. I think I would probably be that much more cautious and careful with the life that I have, to know that there is no second life. There's no after chance. There is no coming back and visiting your children, their dreams. There is no meeting them in heaven. There is no, nirvana, there really is just black after you pass, would make me that much more invested in the moments that I have now, because it's all I got.
Would it change any decision you've made?
In the past,
Yeah, just like the day-to-day decisions. Would you?
damn, it would. This question sucks, man. Good question, shitty answer. If I knew that and I had to go back, I would change all sorts of things. I would take less risks, like less physical bodily risks. I would have never learned how to ride a motorcycle. I would have never skydived. I would have never learned to free dive. I would have never learned to sail. I would have never joined the CIA. If I knew there was no chance that this is the one chance you get, I would probably live a very dull, boring, and conservative life.
Do you know what's interesting is I don't think there's an afterlife. And I skydive and I think I take risks. But I'm okay with the fact that I don't think anything happens after I die,
Yeah.
because I think I was totally okay. Someone said, I think it was Ricky Gervais said this once. How did you feel 100 years ago?
I want
Felt
us
nothing.
I want us to have a beer 6 weeks after you have a baby and talk about this question again. Can we put that on a calendar? I guess we can't put that on a calendar yet, or else you have a much happier partner. Because
so
children
interesting.
change everything too. Children change everything when it comes to your tolerance for risking yourself.
I know you're telling the truth. A, because I believe you, and B, because my brother, who's a year older than me, has 3 kids. And he said something very peculiar to me one day. I said, Jason, why don't you fly to London? And he goes, Stephen, I think he was an investment bank for 12 years, actuarial scientist. So literally his job was to like assess probabilities, super genius at maths. And he was like, I know this makes no sense, but I don't want to get on a plane if my kids aren't on it.
I love this. I had a similar conversation with somebody recently, and they were shocked when I said almost the same thing, because they were like, why would you want to get on a plane? If you're afraid of getting on a plane without your kids, it's because you're afraid the plane will crash. And I was like, correct. Well, then if you're willing to get on a plane with your kids, aren't you afraid it will crash? And for me, I'm like, of course it could still crash. But now I can be with my kids to comfort them in that moment, rather than they have to live a life without dad's comfort and without dad forever. I don't know why it makes sense to me, but I know that it makes sense to me. And I know that half of the people I explain that to think it's really fucked up.
Maybe people that don't have kids, but that's what my brother said to me. And I sat there because he's such a logical, smart guy, and he knows the probability. He said that because I know the probabilities of planes. I know they're safe, because this makes no sense. But this is how I feel. I don't want to get on a plane and come to London unless my kids are on the plane with me.
Wow.
And I thought that makes no sense to me. But the way you've explained it, it does help me to understand. So maybe 6 weeks after I have a kid, maybe I will be a bit more attached to some kind of afterlife.
Or maybe not. I mean, and I'm not saying the afterlife. I'm saying that the fact that you you're not afraid of death right now.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of death. No.
I feel like when you have children, it changes, because now it's not just your life that you're impacting.
That's so crazy. Huh? That's so interesting. And I know that there's so many parents that are about to DM LinkedIn me, Instagram me, and also you, and say exactly that. They're going to agree with you. So Andrew, thank you. It's been such an honor, and I really, really enjoy speaking to you. So thank you again for coming to do this. And thank you so much for the value you brought to the audience, because you're very much, in every sense of the word, one of a kind. So I appreciate you.